Hi, welcome everybody. You're here for Banking on AI, and if you're in the wrong place, stick around, it'll be fun anyway. So I'm Holly Kane, Head of Marketing at Lemonade LXP, and I'm joined by our fearless leader, John Finley, who is a founder and CEO. And we're pretty excited to share some things with you today. We're going to talk AI, we'll talk about an upcoming product they have, we'll have some questions, we'll talk about getting ready to launch AI. But before we begin, for those of you who are not familiar with Lemonade, I'm going to pass things over to John to just give a quick overview of who we are and what we're about, and then we'll dive right in. So over to you, John.
Sure thing. So, hi, folks. John Finley from Lemonade LXP. We are a digital growth platform. Well, that's what we were until we recently brought out some new features that kind of changes what we do. But there's two sides to our platform. First is a learning experience platform specifically designed to turn staff into digital experts who can promote and support your digital capabilities. And the second side is a digital adoption platform. It's the fastest tool in the world for creating walkthroughs of any software or app. We recently brought a new AI-powered knowledge base to market. It's so new that it's not in this fancy video, but it kind of turns Lemonade into a sort of AI-powered knowledge and support platform. So that's what Lemonade does. And today we're going to talk a little bit about AI and then talk a little bit about the newest feature.
Awesome. Thank you. So here's what we're covering today. First up, we'll dive into the role of AI in banking and why and how it's transforming the industry. We'll explore the power of AI. We'll talk about some use cases, like real use cases that are being used today in banking. And then we'll introduce you to Insight AI. But at the end of that, we'll wrap it up with how to make it come to life. Like, what does success look like? So first up, the role of AI in banking. Definitely a hot topic right now. In fact, according to my email, there are 3 webinars happening right now about AI in banking. So everybody's talking about it. And what's interesting about that is it's not really new, right? It's been around for a long time in the banking industry. Think of like fraud detection, predictive analytics, even the algorithms behind the stock trading. But what's really exciting is how AI is now expanding into new areas. It's driving productivity gains, it's transforming customer experience, and it's going to have a tremendous impact. And I do like to geek out on numbers a little bit, so you'll have to forgive me when I drop a few stats here and there. I do get made fun of it for it all the time. But this one is really big, and I'm talking $1 trillion big. So McKinsey and Company estimates that AI could add up to $1 trillion in value in the global banking sector. And that's annually. And it's not really just about the dollars, it's really how it's going to position and lead profitability and operational efficiencies. And some examples of that is, Accenture found that banks that are using AI for risk management have already seen a 20% improvement in operational efficiencies. And those who are using it in customer service have already seen a 15% boost in customer satisfaction. So just to be clear, it's not all about cost cutting. It's about improving both operations and the customer experience. One of the challenges, though, that we have is that only about 35% of banks have a clear strategy for AI. And so while the potential is massive, we still sort of have to figure out how to bring it all together and how to build that structured approach to realize the true benefit that AI can have. And before I move on, I'm just going to get this out right now. Address the elephant in the room whenever AI comes up. It's not about replacing your frontline staff. It's about augmenting their roles. It's taking those repetitive tasks that nobody likes to do anyway and freeing them up for higher value activities like relationship management, further oversight. Think about the opportunity to take, for those of you who have the universal banking model, the teller to universal banking so much faster. It's going to change, it's going to accelerate how we work. And I think it's a really exciting time. I saw this quote just yesterday, so I had to get it in because to me it says so much, right? So it's like when Excel was released in the 80s. And nobody really knew the power that it had, but we use it all the time, every day now. And we may not still like the power it has, but we are using the tool. It reminds me of my first office job, where I spent probably about half my days trying to convince the receptionist to stop using her typewriter, to give it up, to move to a computer. It was going to make her life so much better. And she resisted and she resisted and she was afraid. And when she finally did it, that solitaire game, there was never pulling her back. And so once you see the advantage and you sort of are open to that change, that's when the possibility comes in. Adopting new technology is always scary. It can feel a little intimidating. And AI doesn't help itself. All the marketing's dark and scary and it's robots. But once you understand the benefits and once you're truly comfortable, it's hard to imagine ever going back. And this is what we're going to be saying about AI and at this speed 18 months from now. It's going to make such a tremendous impact. Before I go on, and to help me know how fast or slow I should talk, just kidding, let's level set on where we may be using AI today at your bank. So we're going to pull up a poll for you. For anyone who's joined from the Lemonade team, I know your answer, so you can skip this one. So where is your financial institution currently leveraging AI? If at all. And if there's one up here that you don't see, go ahead and throw it in the comments. All right, let's see what those responses are. Customer support, fraud detection, we aren't using, 32% aren't using AI yet. And then other in chat. So I can't see the chat, but hopefully we got some answers in there. We'll have some things to talk about later. Thank you for those answers. All right, let's move forward and talk about Gen AI, what's the big difference, and what does it mean in practice? So AI itself kind of refers to it's a broader term, right? It's something that can carry out the tasks that we would consider smart, right? It's taking various forms of data and pulling it all together and giving some sort of response, some sort of insight there. Gen AI, or generative AI, which is why they call it Gen AI, is a more specialized subset of AI. Like while traditional AI is great at analyzing data, Gen AI takes it a step further by creating new content. And it is incredibly good at creating new content. So whether it's, you need to summarize a long internal report, or you're drafting a presentation that has certain guidelines, or even developing training, AI can step in and make that process faster and more efficient. It's like having your own personal expert pull it all together for you and really helps you take it to the next level. It gets that starting structure done, and then you can take it further. The power of Gen AI, it's massive, right? One of the greatest strengths is its ability to handle tasks that it would take us, mere mortals, more time, right? Think of it as that speed to information, processing vast amount of information that it would take multiple people time to do. By doing this, it can boost your productivity. It can allow you to focus on the tasks that are a little more strategic rather than being bogged down. It's ensuring that your teams have the information, the material they need when they see it. And it's really about expanding the coverage that they're able to do because they're not being bogged down by the repetitive tasks. It's like a force multiplier, really. Now, is AI perfect? Well, it has incredible power, but it isn't infallible. So think of it if your data source has bias in it. If the source that it's looking at has bias, it may unintentionally amplify that bias for you. So the quality of the source is critical. That old adage, garbage in, garbage out, same. It's not going to be able to fizzle through to see that. It heavily relies on the data it's fed. And if the data is flawed, the outputs will be flawed. Another challenge that AI has, and it's getting better, is it's sometimes struggling to verify or challenge its own output. It doesn't have the ability to sort of question itself, cross-check the way a human can. So it's really important when leveraging AI that you're getting citations, that you're able to see where that information is coming from. And while it is improving, it does struggle with emotional intelligence. Now, so do people. So that guy next to you, he could be struggling too. So the good news is AI is improving. Not sure about that guy beside you. So we are getting improvements every single day. Now, where it really excels, and I think I've kind of hit this nail so many times, it enables you to scale operations. It can take you a task that would take significant amount of staff to do. It can do it faster, it can do it more effective, and it can do it without sacrificing quality. But to be clear, again, it's not about replacing, it's about increasing capacity. On a day-to-day basis, your roles are changing, banking's changing. We need to adapt and move and continue to move. And to do that in a world without AI would mean adding more people. But with AI, we can take our current staff and retrain them and grow them and help sort of grow our business without adding the people to it. So back to my geeking out. I read a report from Deloitte. It's called Changing the Game: The Impact of Artificial Intelligence and Banking in Banking and Capital Market Sectors. That's a mouthful. I had to use my notes for that. But what I like about it is that it talks about changing the game. And here at Lemonade, we love games. So it kind of was a perfect match. What we're looking at on the screen now is the three games, the three levels, how AI is changing. And if I look at the first section, the smaller section, this is about using AI to enhance existing processes, at a lower cost. It's helping at a lower cost. This is where automation comes in, making operations more effective, boosting productivity, but you're not changing the core business. You're still working within that familiar boundary. Game two, now we're introducing new processes, but still within the same model. So AI, digital tools and data that are used to transform the customer experience, to personalize things a little bit more, to create more meaningful and customized interactions. Now, it gets real at game three, because this is not about creating new processes anymore. This is now at the level of creating entirely new business strategies, entirely new products, entirely new customer experience. The game changes the definition of what a bank can be. It's like unlocking opportunities we didn't have before. And AI allows us to sort of push those boundaries where possible. Now, this is a lot. Who's going to be successful in this? So the good news is the banks that have already invested in innovation, and that's that progress, right? From cloud to digital to data, they're already ahead of the game here. And the reason that they're already ahead of the game is because they already have that culture, right? They already have the governance in place for change. They're more agile, and that's going to help them sort of capitalize, I guess, on AI. They have that infrastructure set up internally, and now they can use AI as a conduit to unlock the value of their investments. So that's the great news. And many of you on the call, you're digital, you've taken that path already, so you're used to that transition, that change. One of the things that we don't want to leave in the background is that in order for all this tech to be implemented, we also have to upskill our teams, right? We need to make sure they're comfortable with the tech, that they're comfortable with continued improvements, and they can see the clear vision. They can see the game three in the future, and that will help them grow. Okay, so that was a lot. This is really the evolution of allowing you to empower your employees with better tools and free them up from mundane tasks and ultimately drive higher revenues and giving them greater job satisfaction in the long run. But let's now look at real life instead of these games and these obscure things. What does it mean to day? And I've pulled together just a few case studies to share with you. The first one being compliance. Because everybody loves compliance. It's fun, it's sexy, it is what we get out of bed for every day. And in compliance, there's a lot of documentation, and there's a lot of regulations coming down, and there's lots of changes to the regulation. And this is an area where AI can have a significant impact. AI tools are really fast at summarizing ridiculously long documents. The internet too long didn't read. This is where AI can help. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to stop reading, but what I am saying is it'll help you synthesize that information a little bit more, break it down, help you pull out the key takeaways in a fraction of the time that it'll take your teams to do it. And what's really powerful about it is not only will it do all of that for you, but it can then take those key takeaways and turn that into training. Take those key takeaways and turn that into articles. Take the key and turn that into presentations that you can give. It takes it to that next level for you. I'm going to tell you 2 stories. One is a lemonade story, so hopefully I'm not embarrassing our CTO. So like the compliance team at a bank, we receive security audits, and it can be dozens of questions. It can be hundreds of questions. And so what he did using AI was he took all of our policies and procedures and all of the questions in the survey and put them together. And AI answered the question. I'm not going to say better than Alex would have, but it answered all the questions. And not only did it answer all the questions, but it included references of where the answers came from. And so he was able to get the full survey answered with citations and then download all the referenceable documents and package that up for the audit. And so that is just one example of where compliance and audit teams can leverage AI within a bank. The second example I'm going to use actually is a real story. It was an article in the paper, a digital paper because I don't get the real paper, about how it was used by Citigroup at their bank. And so they used Gen AI to comb through 1,089 pages of new capital rules released by federal regulators. That's a fun document to read, isn't it? They had their bank and compliance team use AI to assess the impact of all the rules. AI organized it into a massive proposal, into manageable pieces, and generated key takeaways. So what that did was allow them to take the time to action the key takeaways. And if without AI, that would have taken a considerable amount of time to do. Customer delight. So this is another area where AI can have a big impact within banks. It already has, really. So think about you're sitting at your desk, you're at this teller booth, you're talking to a customer on the phone, and you have a question, and you don't necessarily have the answer for it. So new policy, I may be handling foreign currency exchange. I'm just kind of making it up. Instead of digging through emails, calling Sandy down the hall, you can simply ask AI, what is that latest information? And boom, it's there. You have access to the most instant and updated information. You can now service your customers better and faster. It's taking away that search for information. It's removing errors because you may have outdated knowledge, and it's spending time actually serving your customers. So AI in that customer delight realm can really improve and significantly boost customer satisfaction. And again, I'm going to geek out on some stats. McKinsey said that using AI in call center interactions has reduced handle time by 15 to 20% already. And Stanford and MIT together, those are very smart people, shows using AI in customer service can boost productivity by up to 14% and up to 34% for newer employees. It also helped them sound more professional and improve their overall quality, which in turn boosted their customer satisfaction by 15%. So it has a significant impact on the day-to-day. And last but certainly not least, because this one's near and dear to my heart, is when you think of learning leaders, AI is like your best friend, right? Think about whipping up training content in no time by pulling large amounts of information. Let's pretend it's a product launch. You're launching a new Visa product in the bank. You need to train your staff on it. There's lots of documentation. There's subject matter experts that you kind of search for and try to find to get the answers. You don't have to do that anymore because they'll have all of it documented. The documents are accessible to you and accessible to AI, and AI can now generate that content for you. So there's no more waiting around for the subject matter experts. AI can spin it up really quickly. Gets even better than that. Things change. We all know. I've talked to many of you. Things change a lot. AI can help you keep your training up to date. So as the source information gets updated, as too does your training. So it kind of helps alleviate that stress altogether. And last but not least, when you're thinking of career progression, career paths for your employees, AI can help you build that out. Like, tell me what I need to do to get from A to B, and it can help plan that for you. So you have the plan, it can help you generate content and help you keep it up to date. you now have the ability to really focus in on new ideas and new options for the bank. And I'm not going to go on because I could, but it keeps going. Like the impact that it has in day-to-day life will make such a big difference. Think about, the decision bottleneck, just general confidence of your staff. They no longer have to wait for someone to respond. They can get the answer instantly. They have the confidence of the answer they're looking at is that right answer, and they can address it immediately. There's so many different resources that it's a tool that's going to be like Excel, and hopefully we'll like it more than Excel in the future. So I've covered a lot. I've covered a lot of the what and how it's going to help. But the next question is really how. How do we start implementing AI capabilities? How do we unlock its full potential? And this is where I want to pass it back to our fearless leader, John, sort of to talk about the how. But before I do that, the marketing team made some pretty sweet slides, so I'm going to go through it, give you an overview, steal his thunder, and then I'll pass it over to him. So Lemonade is getting smarter. John already gave you actually he stole my thunder. I already gave you a preview at the beginning that we are launching a new product. It's called Insight AI. And what it's going to do is really save time on the training team, help boost your employees, and give them instant answers in the flow of work. So it's your all-in-one solution. Before I continue, I want to make sure I didn't let you all fall asleep. I'm going to have one more poll for you. Speaking of training, and what are some of the areas that today you may be struggling with training? Give you a few seconds to answer. Oh, yeah, that's a pain. I know that pain. I have lived the pain of keeping training material up to date. Real-time answers and support, measuring training effectiveness. That's a whole other webinar, but we can talk about that. And then others in the chat. Awesome. Thank you for that. So let's just talk. Let's imagine that, you're creating content. Wouldn't it be beautiful if it was as easy as simply uploading your files and building that secure knowledge base for your staff, and then taking that knowledge base and auto-magically generating engaging training content? And I'm not just one type of content, but think game-based learning, think scenarios, think polygraph, think text to read. In the future, there's videos to have. Taking all that content and making it come together. And then after you've trained your employees, and those of you who have been onboarded in the past lifetime will understand this, you get it all up front, right? You're in onboarding 2-3 weeks, you're bombarded, deer in the headlight with information, you're ready to go out in the field, you got it done, and every day you don't do every single thing you learned in onboarding. And once you're released in the real world, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So having the ability to go back and ask questions is powerful. And it can be there instantly based on your data. So John, for the hard part, I'm going to turn it over to you to walk through the reality of this product.
Okay, thanks, Holly. Before you actually start the video, so Holly and her team like to jump the gun on product release. And so our dev team is actually just finishing one component of Insight AI. And so we had them make a video of it in production because I couldn't show it live quite yet. Next week, we will be able to. So this is a short video from our dev team of one of the capabilities of Insight AI. And Holly, I may ask you to stop the video a couple times because it moves a little quickly, but let's start the video now and I'll talk through it. So this is Insight AI. In the administration portal, the first thing I can do is at the click of a button, I can create a private, secure database into which I can put company information. I can drag and drop it, or I can pull it off my hard drive in virtually any format. Once it's in, I just have to synchronize it with all the other documents in the database. So you can see here, I uploaded a vendor management policy and I'm synchronizing it. Once it's synchronized, I can do a few things. But the first thing I'm going to do is create some training content. So here I go. I'm going to create a training module on reporting issues. And I can select from a bunch of different types of training. And the first thing I have to do is write a prompt. And that prompt is asking Insight to go and look at all the data in the database about vendor management. And it's going to do that. And from it, it's going to synthesize a synopsis of all that information, which I can then read and make sure it's accurate. From there, I can go and look at what documents it referenced. And then I go to the authoring panel where I generate the code for this role play scenario training. As soon as it's done, it takes me to Lemonade's authoring tools where I can go and moderate the content. So I go into the content authoring piece and I click launch the editor. And now I can see Insight wrote all of this stuff. The questions, the answers, the entire conversation was written. Our clients were telling us this would take them days to write this type of scenario. Now it's done in minutes. And immediately I can test play the module. And so here's a mentor asking me, saying, I'm here to discuss incident response plans. What's the purpose? And I answer questions as they ask me questions about it. This role play scenario was authored in, you saw, like literally seconds. You can author all sorts of different types of training content using Insight AI. And then when your source information changes, all you need to do is update your database, put the new source document in, and it will identify all of the training modules that have been impacted and suggest changes for you. So that is the course creation piece of Insight AI. And we just saw one module, but actually Insight AI can author an entire curriculum. So it can take a subject matter and author a whole bunch of different modules in different formats that creates an entire curriculum for your training program. And it does that in seconds. So I'm going to actually steal the presentation capabilities from Holly and share my screen. So this is the main interface of the Lemonade learning environment. So when I'm logged in here, I can go into Ask AI and I can ask any number of questions. But the question I'm going to ask is about the document that I entered. So I said, what do I need to keep in mind when I create a contract for a Lemonade LXP vendor? So I type that question into the bot, and it's going to search from that repository of information that I put the document into. And it is going to synthesize from the multiple documents that might be in there about vendor management, and it's going to provide a concise answer. So here's the concise answer. In addition to the answer, it cites the source material. So I can go and read a little bit more if I feel like I need more information. So this speaks to what Holly mentioned. You get onboarded or you take training on a new subject. And you take the training, you kind of cram it all in, kind of like you used to for exams when you were a kid. And then you go away, and a lot of it you're not going to retain immediately. And what Insight allows you to do is go in and ask questions and query that DB again to get answers immediately within the flow of work. So it's kind of twofold. It authors training content from multiple different sources of information that you've input. And then it supports staff in the flow of work with answers to questions they have when they're not sure how to proceed. So the operational efficiencies in content creation and content management and upkeep are massive. But the other thing is creating one bank with one unified message for your frontline staff so that they're all on the same page. And that's really the power of Insight. Okay, I'm going to hand it back to Holly now.
Okay, well, now we're going to do the little awkward, can I find my share the screen? And can I share it? All right, now share. Okay, we should be back. So now what? We've seen the potential. We've seen some possibilities. Do you think your team is ready for AI? There's a specific rollout for this, right? We all know what happens when organizations try to implement big change and the success rate of that. And so we have a bit of a rollout and a rollout kit coming on how to embrace AI within the workplace. And so there's sort of 8 steps. The first one, set clear objectives. What does good actually look like? Critical, make sure you engage your stakeholders early. And I mean IT. Security, compliance, security, operations, legal, marketing, learning. Everyone needs to be on the same page. You need buy-in, you need people working together. And then think about your needs and make sure that you're not bending for the solution that you can customize for your needs. So just an example off the top, you have AI, you have your source of truth that it's leveraging. Not everything in that source of truth should be seen by everybody in the organization. So how do you break that up? How do you make that happen? Training, we've talked about it earlier. Training is key. Training so they understand the how, the why, and the where it's going to make their lives easier. And then there's governance. So early on, I talked about garbage in, garbage out. Very key. Make sure that who has access to import, who is importing, what is imported, everything from naming conventions, all of that needs to be understood in advance. Consider starting with the pilot, right? So rather than roll it out across, if you start with a pilot, you get some instant feedback, you know where you may need to train, you know what improvements need to happen. You can share some success results. People will, if they see other people taking the advantage, getting advantage, they're going to want the advantage too. Communicate those benefits. Be very clear on the benefit side, and then monitor and adjust as you go. And there's a lot more to that, but just as a high level, it's not boom, let's go. There's a process as we roll up to it. So with that, I'm going to move along to the question period. There is a Q&A at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions, we'll make up the answers. John, this is an easy one for you. I'll throw it at you. What formats of training content can this technology create?
So it can create a bunch of different, several different game-based learning modules. It can create a text step, so like that initial step where you give a bit of information before the learner plays games. It can create role play scenarios, and very soon we will have an integration with a couple of different AI video generation tools. So it will create an AI avatar who can actually speak a bunch of the synthesized information as part of conversational learning. So there's a bunch of different module types that it can create.
And can we do that with a celebrity voice? I'm just kidding. How long does it take to implement this?
So super simple. From the time that we sign a contract, you have an instance live in 48 hours. So for the insight piece, for example, it's as fast as you can dump information into it. And as I mentioned, you can dump in a PDF, a slideshow. You can even dump in an Excel spreadsheet and ask it to project based on the calculations in an Excel spreadsheet. It's really, really powerful. So almost any source format of information can be dumped into Insight. And so immediately you can start creating training content and have it live like literally in minutes. And then offering staff support in the flow of work is instantaneous. As soon as you put your documentation into Insight and into that private secure database, its contents are accessible to all staff members so that they can get answers in the flow of work. So it's virtually instantaneous.
And so earlier I had said that some people have fear around AI, and I know that many organizations have fear about bringing it into the organization. What if someone's bank is a little nervous about implementing AI?
That's a great question. So we work with about 90 financial institutions, some of them quite large, some of them smaller. And we've had some AI capabilities in Lemonade for quite some time. And some of our financial institutions expressed concern about AI's security and would it reveal private information and so forth. So before building this tool, we actually consulted with a number of our AI customers, risk folks at those organizations to understand what the concerns were. And for the kind of thing we're doing, a big part of it was sharing IP and sharing private information with the broader public. Like there are a lot of these services that use ChatGPT that's been nested into whatever the solution is, that information becomes public. So that's where we architected the solution based on what those concerns were. So it's an AWS using a tool called Bedrock, which is fully private, and the database that you invoke with one click of a button is secure, protected by 2FA, and you can set accessibility for the people who can actually input content into it. So it really has a ton of protection built in to ensure that no information goes public.
Perfect. I think you just answered another one of the questions, who can input data. So you can set that on your side to who has the authority to do it.
Oh, permissions, yeah. So, you know, I think one of the risks, or not risks, but things that you need to be mindful of in implementing any AI solution is that the inputs have to be moderated in order to ensure that you have an accurate message. So if you were to give input capabilities to anybody at the organization, you run the risk that some wrong information gets put in there, and then that gets disseminated out to your entire employee base. So we've created a permission system that allows you to limit who can actually upload documentation. And the process that we would recommend is, for example, let's say you wanted to put in information about corporate policies and procedures. You would want to make sure that those had been approved by the highest approving authority in that department prior to them being released to be put into Insight AI. And that ensures that the information that goes in is accurate information, so that the advice and guidance that Insight AI dispenses is in line with what's been approved by your organization.
Perfect. The top poll answer was keeping information up to date. How can Insight help with that?
Well, so Insight isn't going to rewrite your policies as you change them, although you could use AI to do that. But as you change those policies, procedures, product information, service information, things that staff need to understand, you simply input them into that database that I showed you, where you can drag and drop the files or select them off your hard drive. It will put them in the DB, and then you can identify which training components have been affected by those changes. And Insight will actually recommend changes to the training content. So the maintenance of training content is virtually eliminated. It's now sort of one click of a button, and the onus really is just on moderation to go and read what Insight is actually authored for you to ensure that it's in line. But compared with the old days of reading and understanding source material, finding its salient points, writing the content, getting it reviewed, I mean, this eliminates all of that.
We have one more question. This is a technical one. What was the name of the AWS product you used to maintain more security of the data? You'd mentioned earlier.
So the AWS Bedrock is what it's built on. Any questions that go deeper than that would go above my head and require Alex, the fellow who filled out his security audits with AI.
We can follow up too with more information as needed, but I see Charlotte said thank you. So there you go. All right. Any other questions coming in? All right. I think we're good. So I'm going to attempt to very ungraciously reshare my screen. So we got questions. And then just to wrap it up, as John indicated, this is a pre-launch. John's indication where he threw me under the bus, it was me that pushed this out earlier. I just want to point out, no bus will be running over me, but we do have a lot of resources coming your way. So we have an ebook coming out about going into more detail about the 5 ways that you can use AI for training and customer experience. We have the AI rollout kit coming up, and lots of one-pagers and videos coming your way. So we hope that you all take the opportunity to discover AI, Insight AI for yourselves. Thank you all for joining today. You can get more information at lemonadelxp.com or reach out to any of us. After the webinar, once we record it and get rid of all my ums and ahs, we will share the recording with you, and you can share it out to others. John, any final words?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if anybody's interested, a cool thing to do would be to contact us with some documentation that you want us to author training on. We're happy to sign an NDA, and we could put that content into Insight and author you a course in seconds in front of your very eyes, which might be a fun little exercise. So if anybody's down for that, hit us up. We'd be thrilled to demo the product and show you by actually building some training content.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining. Have an awesome day. I hope it's as beautiful where you are as it is where I am. Take care.